Hello, welcome back. There is a saying in my mother tongue that goes, well, of course, translated into the English language, if you should bear a flame, so you must lick it. Talk of digging your very own grave. Well, stick around and you will eventually not wonder why I started on such a cruel alert. In 1942, a German nuclear physicist called Robert Oppenheimer was selected by the United States of America to direct a government project that would wind up producing the first atomic bombs. This project was codenamed the Manhattan Project, a top-secret US Army effort to develop a functional atomic weapon during the Second World War. Oppenheimer brought together the best minds in physics, eventually managing about 3,000 people in a project that would wind up taking about 3 years to complete. Welcome to my channel. My name is Victor, the author of the File Soldier series of novels. Now, in a little while, I'm gonna explain how the outcome of this project, the atomic bomb that is, ended up destroying the life of its creator, that is Oppenheimer. But first things first, in Los Alamos, New Mexico, the Manhattan Project administrators found an ideal location for the secret laboratory that would wind up serving as the headquarters for the design and building of the world's first atomic weapons. Apparently, Oppenheimer had fallen in love with the mountains and the plateaus at Los Alamos when he traveled there as a teenager. An initial budget of about $6,000 eventually ballooned to a whopping $2 billion by 1945. Los Alamos then became the home to many of the top scientific minds of the time, the likes of Richard Feynman, Norris Bradbury, and Hans Bethe, who all worked alongside Robert Oppenheimer to develop the theoretical and experimental tests that created the first atomic weapons using enriched uranium from Oak Ridge and plutonium from Hanford. Now, Oppenheimer was an expert in nuclear fission, the powerful release of energy caused by splitting of an atom. The best element for splitting is basically uranium, the heaviest element found in nature. A uranium atom has 92 protons and 146 neutrons, resulting to an atomic mass of 238. A mined uranium atom has the same number of protons, that is 92, but 143 neutrons, giving us an atomic mass of 235, so making this particular one very unstable. Now, this instability makes it highly splittable. When it's slammed by a neutron, it becomes U-235, and it's so unstable that it splits into two atoms, that is krypton and barium. In the process, 3 more neutrons are released, and they fly out and hit onto more U-235 atoms, causing a chain reaction. Now, later it was found that uranium-239 was highly unstable, but wasn't a naturally occurring element, so they had to have it manufactured. Then, boom, that changed everything. The world would never be the same again. Never beforehand humanity possessed a weapon that posed a threat to human civilization. This was tested and was a huge success. And the test success meant that the weapon was ready to be used by the United States military. On August 6, 1945, the most powerful weapon was dropped on the Japanese city of Hiroshima. 3 days later, another bomb was released on Nagasaki. Many people vaporized, thousands more would die in pain from radiation poisoning years later. But things would turn out very differently later. The Cold War between the United States of America and the Soviet Union brought a new scrutiny. The USSR conducted its first nuclear test in 1949, an event that culminated in the USA being suspicious of Oppenheimer.
Few people laughed. Few people cried. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
As a result, some government official informed the FBI that Oppenheimer was probably an agent of the Soviet Union. Oppenheimer was humiliated and stripped of his security clearance, meaning that the United States government did not trust him anymore.
Almost everyone knew this was a great undertaking. It might determine the outcome of the war. It was an unparalleled opportunity to bring to bear the knowledge and art of science for the benefit of the country. This job, if it were achieved, would be part of history.
The threat of nuclear arms race is more of a reality today, with the fear that Russia could use these weapons against Ukraine or any other country against the other. Now, the remorsefulness to the possibility of effects of such a powerful weapon eventually killed the morale of Oppenheimer, so he ended up not supporting the creation of an hydrogen bomb by the United States a little bit later. He later died of throat cancer in Princeton. The doomsday clock is set at 1 minute to midnight. Someone somewhere belonging to the nuclear club one day could just press the red button and nuclear missiles could be released in air and humanity could stand no chance.
Now, in this episode, we'll come to learn that Professor Wilhelm Gutenberg is an expert in nuclear physics. Now, the question remains, is the SDM just about to undertake a very similar request as the United States did with Mr. Oppenheimer?
Stick around. Only time will tell. Episode number 31B ended with Mr. Jake Daniels spotting the sniper shooter, who he describes as a 5-foot nut job, and Dr. John Taylor undertaking to take the lead in pursuance of this shooter by scaling down the wall. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to catch up with the events of the previous episode. Miles, I have a vision on the shooter. A 5-foot nut job. A voice came over his earpiece. The voice of one Mr. Jake Daniels. Copy that, Jake, said Miles. We need a scrambled com ASAP. That is, as soon as possible. Target on the move. I'll radio back when I have a visual. Got his image on your PDA, Jake? I asked, taking gallops of eggnog and ignoring Mr. Alfred Bench. The man was starving. He seemed to have taken cover under the sink in company with 5 bunches of strawberries and a slice of bread. Now, as it was, he appeared to withdraw boiled eggs from the refrigerator and depositing them in his side pockets to be had in the future. Yeah, said Jake, already sending it to Mr. Joshua Keegan. He will run it against the BND database. I'll keep you posted, John. Get the helicopter ready for aerial pursuit, Jake, said Miles. And careful, Constable Rainer Schwartz has excellent reputation at the BND. Roger that, replied Jake. I'll take the chopper. Switch on your PDA. You'll get our coordinates via John's scrambled stream, and I will play backup. With the assurance I had backup, Jake Daniels quickly replied, copy that, tossed me a PTE2 personal digital assistant and vanished downstairs. Professor Wilhelm Gutenberg was undoubtedly a sensitive subject to the paradox of science and nuclear superiority. The man had brains. For that reason, it turned out he had, with hardly any doubt, appeared to have gotten the attention of the subjects by whom he was mesmerized. Miles, I called. Let's get smarter. It's the only way we'll take him out. You're not bully us, said Miles. That I won't allow. I never met a firmer man. I issued forth to the front windows. What's the matter with you? Said Mr. Alfred Bench, puzzled. Are you out of your mind? The front ones expose you to the scope glint. The back door unround the apartment would be safer, Mr. Taylor. I stopped. Cheap talk, I said, and started again. That's suicide, John, he said. Do you play lottery? That again stopped me short. I was the seeker, the startling adventurer. First-class gambling, my first law of combat. A keen eye on my part revealed Mr. Alfred as an ambidextrous man possessing a multitasking mind, preferring free passes on rules. We ambush him, sir, I said. Sneaking around would be too obvious. Okay, Mr. Bench nodded assent. Expect cover. See that window over there? I said, pointing across the room. When I get the seal, you'll fire, okay? Okay. Mr. Bench snapped his fingers. His face turned red. An eclipse of questions tormented my mind. First, what would be the safest route I would undertake to ambush the sniper? Second, my goal was to cancel him out, alright, but what tactics would he employ as retaliation?
With that, I come to the end of my today's episode. Stay tuned to the next event. Goodbye.